From Texas, Congressman Ron Paul. Good morning, Congressman Paul.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine.
How's your son doing down there in that race in Kentucky?
Well, it looks like he's ahead and doing quite well. So he's pretty optimistic at this point.
Seems like a nice young man.
Yeah, he takes after his mother.
Oh, he does? He's a conservative? Is that what he is?
Yeah, well, he calls himself a conservative constitutionalist, which is not a bad term. Some people think that means you believe in liberty, and I agree with that.
Yeah, I wondered what does it mean. Can you explain it to me? Or?
What, a conservative constitutionalist?
Yeah.
Well, conservative means you retain the values that have been around for a while, and indicating that what we ought to do is conserve and follow the Constitution as laid out by the founders.
Wonder why we can't get back to doing that.
You know, there's a lot of talk about it. What has happened is everybody takes the same oath in Washington, and nobody loses any sleep over not following the Constitution, but it seems like there's a great bit of diversity about how you interpret it. But I think this has come from the educational system that we've had for 40 or 50 years, that people have been conditioned to reinterpret the Constitution, that it has to be modernized, but you don't have to bother amending it. So a certain group have come along and said the General Welfare Clause endorses the welfare state, and the commander-in-chief, when a war is declared, has the authority to do whatever he wants, whenever he pleases, and starts any war he wants. And so they endorse the welfare state and the warfare state, and there's no endorsement in the Constitution, and there's no requirement, you know, to amend the Constitution. The Congress either ignores it, the president, you know, writes laws, he writes executive orders, and they become the law. The courts rewrite the laws, and they're in the legislative business, and the Congress too often just sits still and doesn't resist it at all, and allows the usurpation of all the congressional authority that it was given.
Do they do that because they're driven by special interests and money, or is it more malicious?
No, I think it's philosophic. I think.
Oh, you do?
I think they, you know, because they've been taught that. Take, for instance, economics. Economics in this country has been Keynesian economics for, you know, since the Depression. So Republicans and Democrats both endorse economics of Keynes, which means that if you have trouble, the government should spend more money, borrow more money, and print more money. And that's how we get in our trouble. But both parties basically endorse those views. I mean, it wasn't the Democrats alone that brought about the bailout. The Republicans started it, you know, when Bush was still in office. But that's a philosophic issue, and I think it's a philosophic issue of what the role of government ought to be. And they believe, and there's so many believe that the role of government is to take care of it from cradle to grave, and it is to police the world because the burden has fallen on our shoulders, and we have this moral responsibility to, you know, spread democracy and our goodness, even if it takes bombs and guns to do it.
Philosophical implies to me, maybe wrongly, but implies to me that they're making these decisions based on principle, and when it comes to politicians and principle, I can't reconcile that.
You know, I think that's a tricky question because I think it is all philosophic, but everybody's philosophical. It's just whether you have the right ideas or the wrong ideas. But then if you have a system where government gets big and you have a military-industrial complex and a welfare state, then the special interest, this invites the special interest. If you have a government that's very, very limited in scope and they're not capable of passing out the favors, then you're not likely to have so much temptation for the special interest to take over. But interventionism, where government assumes this role, it sets the stage for all the special interests to come in. And, of course, one group says, well, yes, we need to do this to take care of the poor. But it just happens that when the welfare idea spreads, the wealthy are able to get more welfare than the poor.
Don't they always say follow the money?
Do what?
Don't they always say, though, follow the money, the adage?
Oh, yeah, sure. The money will do it. This is why I think the founders understood this. This is why they tried to put strict rules in that the state shouldn't be involved in doing this so much to try to keep the special interests out. But that's why being a conservative constitutionalist and going back to what the founders tried, I think, is a